You're watching UATV News. My name is Inna Kosinska. Good evening. Ukraine expects to receive a NATO membership action plan alongside with Georgia. This was stated by Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal. The Ukrainian government delegation is now in Brussels, where the 7th session of the Ukraine-EU Association Council takes place. On the eve, Prime Minister met with NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg.
We are absolutely ready and we do our task. We continue to reform our armed forces, continue the transition to NATO standards and conduct joint exercises. We have progress that give hope for a quick work completion. Achievement of NATO standards in the security and defense sector of Ukraine will be the precondition that will allow us to become a full member of NATO.
NATO allies are united in their condemnation of Russia's illegal annexation of Crimea and its aggressive actions in eastern Ukraine. We call on Russia to end its support for the militants in eastern Ukraine and withdraw its forces from your territory. I commend Ukraine's efforts in working towards a peaceful solution to the conflict. NATO also continues to provide strong practical support to Ukraine.
Dim-cold cameras and round-the-clock video surveillance. Crimean Tatars illegally imprisoned in Russian pretrial detention centers are kept in inhuman conditions. The Ukrainian consul in Rostov-on-Don, Taras Malyshevskyi, reports. Lawyer Mykola Polozov also spoke about the cruelty in Russian prisons towards Ukrainian political prisoners in an exclusive interview to our colleagues from Dom TV channel.
Even showing the court any documents confirming disability or the need for an operation is absolutely not a guarantee that those people can be released under house arrest, where a doctor can simply visit them without any restrictions. Speaking of the pretrial detention centers, it can take several months to get an approval to be examined by a third-party specialist. Besides taking into account the events of the previous year, namely the coronavirus pandemic, everything has become even more complicated.
Russia does not comply with the ceasefire agreement in Donbas. This was announced by head of the Ukrainian delegation to the Trilateral Contact Group on settling the situation in Eastern Ukraine, Leonid Kravchuk. According to him, the Russians act boldly. Therefore, Ukraine should be ready for any of their actions.
Don't think that if we give in, the Russians will become more accommodating. Fulfilling the international agreements, adhering to peace, we should respond to force by force. They shoot, they kill. We should respond rigidly in a mirror-like manner to strengths and shooting. We all together and the international community as well should act adequately.
Canada will allocate $4,400,000 to support residents of Donetsk and Luhansk regions of Ukraine. This was reported by the Permanent Mission of Canada to the UN. According to the organization, almost 2 million people are in need of help, namely victims of the conflict in Donbas, as well as those living near the contact line. This decision was taken because of the deteriorating humanitarian situation during the pandemic. Two more cyclones will cover Ukraine by the end of the week. Snowfalls, ice and strong winds are expected. The country has declared the first level of danger. About 60 settlements remained without electricity supply. In 7 regions, the traffic is complicated. Rescuers have already drew 420 vehicles out of the snow drifts. Sometimes even military equipment is involved. According to officials, most of the roads are cleared. The most difficult situation is observed at the entrances to Kyiv. Only in the capital, 30 centimeters of snow fell in 2 days.
Heavy snow was falling in Kyiv region since morning. The city closed the traffic for heavy transport. Respectively, there was an accumulation of vehicles at the entrances to Kyiv. Cleaning is done around the clock, and all directions from and to Kyiv are moving with no difficulties. Heavy vehicles are restrained by the national police at the entrance to the capital. All roads will be cleared today.
Difficult weather conditions gathered lots of ships in the Mariupol port. They are moored to all of the 11 berths, and this is the record since 2014. After the outbreak of hostilities in separate regions of eastern Ukraine, the lot on the port and accordingly the income decreased significantly. Our correspondents have more details.
A vessel under the Turkish flag is sailing near the first berth. Several tanks are loaded with tons of sunflower oil. Only 4 days are given for a full load. Everyone works quickly so that the vessel does not stand idle. This cargo is exported. Oil is being loaded to a Turkish ship which will later go to Italy with our sunflower oil, collected from our sunflowers, from our native land. The control monitor displays the shipping channel in real time. It helps the ships pass to the port berths. They are met and escorted by a pilot boat. The channel is long and there is a difference in depth of 4-5 meters. That is, if the ship goes 8 meters along the channel, then if you leave the channel there is 5 meters. You will be aground, and this could mean an accident. The work at the berths doesn't stop even at night. Grain, metal, mineral construction materials, food cargo are proceeded here. The ships from the Mariupol port are going to the countries of the European Union, North America and Africa. We have proceeded 11 ships since the beginning of this month. Some of them have already left, some are under processing at the berths. Such a number of ships at the same time in the port is a record. Because of the difficult weather conditions, frost, icing of the sea and stormy winds, 10 ships waited for almost a week to pass through the Kerch Strait. As soon as the weather improved, the ships were passed, of course. They all came to Mariupol. We had to place them at the maximum number of berths so that they would not remain off a harbor in ice, so as not to expose the ship to risk and danger. The port managers notes that in 2020 cargo handling has increased significantly. Ship owners started again cooperation with the Mariupol commercial port. In 2018, the port of Mariupol reached the lowest point in cargo handling. In 2019, the vector changed from downwards to upwards. Over the past year, the company paid almost $16,786,000 in tax. This is 30% more than in 2019. The portal crane works and loads the ships with metal. 2021 will be no less productive. Indeed, in the first months of the year, almost 60 ships were handled. Reported by Roman Smoler, Nadia Sukhorukova, UATV News.
Motivated by example, the Ukrainian national team is preparing for Invictus Games. This is a competition for military and veterans who are injured in the service. The competition was cancelled last summer because of the COVID-19 pandemic, but the organizers decided to hold them in 2021. Our correspondent attended the open training session of the basketball team.
A demonstration training for basketball players in wheelchairs was held with presence of 1,000 Ukrainian TV cameras and the leadership of ministries that support veteran athletes in preparation for Invictus Games. Ukraine has been taking part in these games since 2017. For those athletes, this competition is the same value as Olympic Games. It is usually a very high level for us. We'd like to demonstrate a worthy performance in the international arena and motivate our wounded boys and girls to go in for sports. The military often return home with psychological and physical problems, especially those who have sustained injuries. Sport helps them to pass rehabilitation as quickly as possible and return to normal life. Sport means health, and rehabilitation is a necessity to not stay at home or lose courage. They come, they communicate, they see each other, they train, they win. They are motivated even further, to work even harder, and set an example for each guys. The head coach of the national team, champion and strongman sport record holder Serhiy Konyushok, admits that he learns from these guys, as they have strong character and a will to win. They should be distracted and given new impulses in order to continue living. Sport is one of the best sources of this motivation. I am inspired when I work with veterans. Ukrainian sportsmen warriors reacted psychologically to the change concerning Invictus Games 2021. More time for preparation means better results. Reported by Roman Smoler, Oleg Shumeiko, UATV News.
The Venetian Carnival goes online. Due to the pandemic, the organizers canceled the traditional mask processions. Everyone can admire masks and costumes via internet. The Venetian Carnival is one of the most popular events among tourists. Tens of thousands of people usually visit the event yearly. Masquerades, theatrical performances and folk festivals last for about 2 weeks. The Carnival is famous for its legendary masks. They are painted with acryls, feathers, precious stones, gold and fabric are used for decoration. That's all for this hour. More updates on our official website, YouTube, Twitter and Facebook pages. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.